I want to introduce our first speaker today, Paul Kelmen from the Palestine Solidarity Campaign.
Over the past 33 years, whenever we gathered for Palestine, whether in small numbers over events, which for the most part the media ignored, or for big events, when it dominated the media, we would have Moshe al-Fawahir speaking. But today, he's in Khan Yunis with his son. And he's going around supporting the people with food, with water, with whatever way he can. For the past 12 days, he's been doing that tirelessly. And he's still speaking to us. There is a posting by him on his Facebook at 1 o'clock today. Since the attack on the Baptist hospital in Gaza City, there have been 9 further military attacks by Israel on civilian targets. And these attacks are in Khan Yunis, where Moshe is, which is in the south of the Gaza Strip, the part of the Gaza Strip where Israel said that people should flee to. So today, we will chant Free Palestine many times. We will chant Free Palestine for the people in Gaza, for the people in the West Bank, for the refugees in Lebanon and Jordan and further afield. But I want to do a special chant for our friend and comrade Moshe and his son Qassem, who's with him and supporting him in his work. And we hope that they will get some encouragement from our solidarity. So, free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
Free, free
Palestine! Now, I want to come to the bombing of the hospital in Gaza City. The Israeli military first claimed that it had bombed the hospital because Hamas fighters were hiding there. It then changed the story and said that it was a stray explosive from Islamic Jihad. But Israel had already bombed 22 other hospitals and 57 other health facilities. So this is not an aberration. And as spontaneously last night on BBC 10 o'clock news, the correspondent from there just said that this bomb was of a size, of a magnitude which Islamic Jihad do not possess. Quite apart from the fact that Israel has always managed to find a reason to blame the Palestinian death on the Palestinians themselves, there is a particular sinister echo in this case. It is in that light and in the subsequent history of Israeli policies of ethnic cleansing that we have to interpret the Israeli strategy that is currently going on, which is to clean most and perhaps all of the Palestinian population out of Gaza.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
This ethnic cleansing that is going on now is reminiscent of April 1948, when Zionist forces fighting to seize Palestine entered the Palestinian village of Deir Yassin and massacred over 100 of the villagers. Over 100 of the villages, in a village which had a non-aggression pact with the Zionist forces. Estimates now vary about how many Palestinians were exactly massacred, between 90 and 170. But whatever the exact number, it sent at the time a shockwave through the entire Palestinian society, and it did much to precipitate the flight of many Palestinians. By 1949, at the end of that war, with over 15,000 Palestinians killed, two-thirds of the Palestinian population were ethnically cleansed. The current bombings are a continuation of that history. It is to push all of Gaza's 2.2 million people into the south of Gaza, and not even just into the south, but into a still smaller enclave on the coast. And perhaps its ambition is even further, to push them into Egypt. That is why Israel is continuing to bombard Khan Yunis in the south. It is to create a humanitarian disaster of such magnitude that Egypt will be forced, will come under pressure to open its border and to let Palestinians flee into Egypt. And if Egypt doesn't do that, Israel will point to Egypt as being the one who is refusing to provide humanitarian aid. Let's be clear. The plan is not only to destroy Gaza, but to disperse its people. This has been the ambition of the Israeli right for decades, and they are now in power. Cast your minds back to the so-called deal of the century under Donald Trump. The deal of the century was put across as a brainchild of Jared Kushner's half-witted nephew, son-in-law, but it was cooked up in Israel and launched with US support. It had three elements in it. Israel's annexation of East Jerusalem. This was not just a matter of moving the US embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, East Jerusalem. It was about giving the green light for Israeli settlers to seize Palestinian houses and expel their inhabitants in East Jerusalem and throughout the West Bank. The second element was to normalize Israel's relation with the Arab states without any concessions to Palestinian demands. In other words, it was to divide the Palestinians off from the rest of the Arab world. And finally, and its most ambitious element, was to divide up Palestinians of Gaza into three enclaves, three Bantustans. Some would remain in Gaza, and some of the people would be put into small enclaves created along Israel's border with Egypt. In other words, Gaza's population will be divided up into three units. One of the features, and this is why it's particularly sinister, one of the features of Israel's apartheid system, even more pernicious than its repugnant discrimination based on ethnicity, is its effort to fragment the Palestinian population, to split the people into different areas and rule over them with different judicial and administrative systems. The aim is to prevent the Palestinians achieve national cohesion, to prevent Palestinians becoming a united and effective political force that could struggle for their national rights. The war on Gaza is to carry through with overwhelming military force Israel's policy of ethnic cleansing and fragmentation. In other words, to eliminate Palestinian national aspirations once and for all. Even in these bleak times, we have a role to play. Just an hour ago, it was announced that of the 14 members of the Security Council, 12 voted for cessation of fighting and a humanitarian corridor to be established. The two who voted against it were the United States and Britain.
Shame! Shame! Not in our name!
The hypocrisy of the British and Americans to pretend that they have any humanitarian concerns while giving diplomatic cover and military aid to Israel is our task to expose. And the attempt to shut down opposition to Israel, a Jewish supremacist state, on the basis of the utterly false accusation that you oppose a Jewish supremacist state is anti-Semitic, must not inhibit our campaign in support of the Palestinians. Because there is a double offensive here. One in Palestine, which unfortunately for the moment we can do little about except to mobilize support here. But the other element of it is to shut down any opposition to the Israeli state, to expose the reality of Israeli apartheid and colonization. Opposing the racist state of Israel is not racist. When we chant from the river to the sea, we are not chanting for the elimination of Jewish people. We are chanting for a state for all people between the river and the sea to live together. So let's chant. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Thanks, Paul.